That way you don't lose your presentations and that we're going over, and you will not lose your Google Meet that you have open. The other tip for the day is if you are working on a single screen right now, and you don't have multiple monitors, you can split your screen in half easily. If you're on a Chromebook, use the Alt key with a bracket. If you are on a PC Windows device, you will use the Windows key in the bottom left hand of your keyboard, plus the left or right arrow. And by doing that, all you do is press the Windows key and the arrow. And as you can tell, I have multiple monitors. I have several windows open, but I take the extra tab and I can pull it, and now I have side-by-side screens. So you can leave your Google Meet open, like to watch me with the presentation, and then you can participate on one side and do the things I do, so you can participate during this recording as well. So I'm going to close this one and open my screen back up to full screen for you. In Classroom, this will be our platform this fall for going to school, whether you are meeting every day with your students in the classroom or whether you are meeting on a rotation schedule with the upper grades. Everything will go through Classroom. Students can use it during school in the classroom, or if they're at home. It's paperless classrooms. It allows you to assign work, collect work. If we have to go home all of a sudden, like last March, everything's already in place. And you will be able to work, students can work from multiple devices. You will be allowed to use Meet with your students. This year, there will no longer be any Zoom meetings with students next year. Last year, we ran Zoom through Clever. This year, it will not be run through Clever, and it will not be allowed for student use at all. Teachers will have to use Meet with their students in Classroom. I will sign into a Classroom in a moment and show you how that looks for students and for teachers today. It's an organizational tool. I know parent communication is hard. In Eventbrite, there is a calendar session that shows you how to set up parent appointments. And actually, you can set time spots on your calendar for parents to call you. That way they don't have your number, you'll be at school, and you show times that you're available. And that way it's not a free-for-all or them just sending you emails. Classroom is also accessible from anywhere. I do know internet's a problem. There are MiFis being processed for students that don't have it. Students have up-to-date materials. There's no need for textbooks that are outdated. And if you have PDF documents, yes, you can load them. They can read them. We have Google Read and Write for Google up here, this little puzzle piece. All students have that available to them in Chrome. Every student in our district already has this. You as a teacher can get it for free because you can go to the curriculum toolbox and download it. It's already labeled for you, and all 3 apps that you need are labeled for you. But every student in the district already has this in their account. Whether they need the accommodation or not, every student has it. Assignments can be assigned whole class, ability groups, RTI groups, enrichment, or you can do project-based, interest-based groups, or let them be the creators of their projects. You will have to be able to create your own classroom. If you have not created a classroom, that is the first thing you need to do. You will go to Classroom, click the plus sign in the top right-hand corner, and create a class, sign in as a teacher first. If you cannot create a class, have two options: join a class and create, send me a note and we'll fix it for you. Even if you select teacher, the first time you sign in, you go into a holding bank for pending, because students do select the option of teacher. So we have to approve everybody for being a teacher in classroom. So now let's get to creating classwork. In Classroom, the classwork tab, you can assign classwork. You don't have to create slideshows, y'all, and documents and everything every time you want to use Classroom. You can do exit tickets as quick as writing a question in Classroom. Exit tickets can be a question, fill in the blank, or multiple choice. And it's actually just submitting a question in Classroom, and that's it. No paper, no nothing. You check it, or Classroom will check it for you. If you assign slideshows or anything like that, if you don't want every student to write on each copy, or all of them to write on each other's copy, make sure you assign it as make a copy for each student. That means Classroom will assign the work as Mary Smith, assignment week 1, and it will name it for the student. It names it, and it gives every student a copy of whatever you are assigning, whether it's a doc or a slide. But if you want them to just view it, or every student write on the same document, make sure your students know how to do that before you do that. Probably the safe bet is make every student their own copy. That way they write on each their own. Before I ever create a document or a slideshow, I always go to my Drive. I never type in drive doc.google.com, because if you do that, it dumps it in your Drive in no order. It just dumps it in there. If you type slides.google.com, it brings up it just takes you to a new presentation. And if you do that and create a new presentation from this spot, it dumps it in your Drive with no method to a filing system. So you will not be able to find it when you go to find it. So when I start planning anything, I go to Drive, my Drive, and I go to, you can go to the apps launcher over here and go to your Drive, or type drive.google.com. So when you go to slides or docs.google, it'll just dump it in here and not put it in a file. So you really want to go to your Drive, go to your lessons folder, and put it in that folder so you can find it later. So back over in the slides, there are a couple of things you need to know about your Drive. You can work offline. If your internet goes down, you can work if you are on the same device. So if you have your laptop and you're working, the internet goes down, you can work offline. And then when you get back onto the internet, your documents will update. But you have to turn that on in settings in your Drive. You can't, excuse me, you can't switch devices and do that. You have to stay on the same device. So in your Drive, you would click on the gear shift and go to offline and check it to give you access to offline capabilities. Just remember, it's the same device. The other thing I do is if I convert or if I upload current Word documents or somebody sends me something in Word, I save it in my drive. I have my drive converted to a Google Doc. Always. If you put Word documents into your drive, assign them into Classroom, the students can't type on them as easily. So convert everything to a Google Doc. PowerPoints, no, convert them to a slideshow so your students can utilize them and work on them. That's major. If you want your students to be able to work on your assignments, utilize the Google apps for them to be able to do that. Remember, on your drive is your filing cabinet that travels everywhere with you. So if it stays on your desktop at school, it's there. But if you put it in your drive, it's with you all the time. And G Suite EDU has unlimited storage. I auto convert my uploads and I work offline. That way, if you're out of internet, you can work offline on your device for a little bit. It's okay. It'll update when you get back to the internet. Also, when you're in your drive, you don't see these share options unless you click on a document or a folder. So I will pop over to my drive real quick. See how my drive is plain? There's nothing here. Here's the gear shift I just explained with the offline. This check means I'm ready for offline because I have selected it. But here's the gear shift. But if I select this first folder, 2020, then I have my tools that are available. And so therefore, then you can click on the three dots. I get to search. You always have your search bar at the top, but if you want to search within a certain folder, you have that option. You can change your color and you can organize or download a whole folder. So with us all going to virtual or distance learning, organization is going to be a key to your life being easier to getting into Classroom. So this is how you get to these tools. And let's see, here I am. All right, before I jump there, there was one more thing. Over here on your drive, I go to New. It jumps. I go to New, and this is where I go to create all my documents, sheets, slides, more, and forms. I do not go and create documents by typing docs.google.com because I want to create it within the folder that I want it stored in. That way I don't have to move it. There are ways to move it, and we'll talk about them in a minute. So docs and slides both have some of the same things. This I'm going to give to you and let you take with you. Docs, most of you will assign students docs. This little link right here, draw or write on student work, only works on like your phone or a tablet. You actually do the checking of your student work with your finger. And it's kind of cool. I did it on my phone. So if you're at a ball game or out and about with your personal children or running errands, you can check student classroom work with a mobile device. It does not work on your desktop though, but it's a way to check student work on the go. And it's just a little something extra for that. The creating of docs and slides, I always start in Drive, click New, and drop down like this. The other part is things you can do with both of them. From the file menu, you can download them for both of them. You can download them as a PDF. You really don't want to send your students PDFs in classroom at all because they will not be able to write on them. If you send students a slide presentation like this one I sent you, I made you a forced copy. Noticed you could all write, you can write on your slides, you can do whatever you want, they're yours. You can email your students or parents, whatever you're working on. And if you save something, download something as a PDF, and you make changes to it, you can go back and make changes. But if you put the PDF in an email as a hyperlink, it will update your PDF. But you got to do it all in Drive. And have the Explore button in Docs and Slides is two different things. So we'll do Docs real quick, and then we'll go to Slides totally. So if I'm in a document, let's find a document, just a copy of a forced copy. Y'all might want this. So if I'm in a document and I press this Explore button down here at the bottom, it's a research tool. So if you tell your students you want them to research, they can. So by researching, they press the Explore tool, and you can tell them you want them to research puppies. You can tell them to look up puppies. You can tell them to research. Now, for middle school and high school, you probably have more to do with citing their work and teaching them the correct way. For the younger students, you also have APA you can select from. And if they select something out of here, highlight it, drag it over here, you can tell them you want to cite it. And it will cite it. Now, if you teach this, it's probably not exactly correct if you were writing a paper in college, but it will teach your students to give credit for work they're copying off the internet or they're getting from the internet or where their resources are. It will do the same thing for images. So that's what the Explore tool does in Docs. So I'm going to get rid of that off of this. The way y'all got slides this morning was a forced copy, and that's how you do that. I will, if we don't run out of time, I'll show y'all that in this before we go. On slides, the Explore tool is different. So I'm in slides now. The Explore tool is down in this bottom right-hand corner. So there's no suggestions for this slide. So let's go to the next slide. So I built this slide as just a text box, and an image. So when you press the Explore button in Slides, when you're creating slides for your students, don't spend all your time doing it. They're going to say, why don't you change it and build it a different way? And they will give you all these recommendations. If you want to use it, if you don't worry about it. You can change your slide or go back. Now, I wasn't worried about it. This one, I took their recommendation. They will give you recommendations for all your slides. Don't spend all your time trying to create the perfect slideshow in your classroom. And you can teach your students that. Again, that's the Explore button down here in the bottom right-hand corner. Also, Sheets has the same thing. If you're working in Google Sheets, it tells you how to do formulas. It helps you solve problems. So use that. So we're in slides. And let's talk a little bit about slides here. If you're assigning slides to your students in classroom, you will want to assign them a slide to work on. And then as the teacher, you will want to take all the slides and put them into one presentation. You really want to share it back with your students as a finished product. So if you did a backyard scavenger hunt with your students for science, gave them a topic, with Chromebooks, students can take photos. So they can go outside and take a picture of whatever you send them after. I highly recommend you send them after something though, and tell them exactly what you want to take a picture of. So I highly recommend that. Let me share the link again for slides, guys, because I have people that are joining. And then we will take and put them together for the slideshow, especially if you teach the very young. But if you teach the older group, you send them on a research project, you can have them create their whole slide deck. I will go into classroom and you don't need to create their slide deck. You give them the instructions. I wouldn't create them for the older ones. So let's go to classroom. So in a classroom, boot camp. I told you what Meet would look like. In your classroom, you will have to turn it on. Google Meet shows up as your link right here at the front. And students cannot start a Meet without the teacher. So don't worry about your students meeting without you. They can't start one. So in an assignment for slides, students can come down here and create a slide deck. So if it's the older students and you want them to present their slides in, or present their research project as a slide presentation, you can tell them here, create your findings or create a for your findings using slides. And you can, I would always tell them at least 6 slides, something like that. So you would tell them how many you want them to use. Now, for here, you can assign them slides. There's 2 ways to do this. There's always more than one way to do this. You would give them a blank presentation, which the older the student, you don't need to do. Let's go back to classroom. Come on. I would not do that. You could give them a template from Drive, one that you've already made. So if you do that, you go to My Drive and I can assign the one I'm doing today. And I would say, make a copy for each student. Remember a while ago when I said everybody can view it? Students can edit the file or make a copy for each student. So here, I could assign everybody my template that I made. But really, if you're giving students the creation ability here and allowing them to be creative constructors of their own project and their own research, then allow them to be creative constructors and allow them to press the create button in their classroom. So I would give them the directions here to create their own presentation and not give them a template. However, the younger ones, they need a template. So this would be your template example. You would assign it to whichever classroom you want. You can also assign it to the entire class, or you can assign it to one or two students or to a select group of students. So I'm going to assign this to the entire boot camp class, which has a student named boot camp as well. So you can tell we train with this one. If you don't put a due date, it will not come on your classroom calendar and the students will not get a notification that they have an assignment due. And you can put a time, just like in college when your professor said it was done at 11:59 and that's when you submitted it, you can put a time. So you can change this to our normal times, 3 p.m. Older students, originality reports. If you want to make sure your students are not copying work and it's really their work, you only get like 2 or 3 of these. So make sure per classroom. So make sure you save these for the big writings and explain it. Also, you can create a rubric and use this to add the rubric here for the students. So they will know how you're going to grade them. So have your rubrics made ahead of time and attach the rubric, reuse a rubric, and you can create your rubrics in sheets and it will attach the rubric for the student so they can see it ahead of time to know what they need to include. So I'm going to assign this one and make sure I can log in as a student. I'm going to switch accounts real quick on y'all. Let's log in as Lucas. So I have permission to be in his account. This is a friend of mine's child's account. Notice his teachers did not archive his classes. As a teacher, if you had classes last year, I highly recommend you go into your classroom and archive all your last year's classes and previous year's classes, because for your students, it clutters their dashboard. Click on the 3 dots. Oh, I own that one. I can't do that. I have to do it in mine. So I'll show y'all that in a minute. So Lucas, the student, will click on classwork, the one he was just assigned is slides. So when he clicks on this assignment, it says view assignment here. So this is what the student will see. This is the student view of what they will see in your classroom. So the student's going to see the assignment like this. If you gave them a template, it looks like this. They will click on it and just insert. However, if you put here in the directions, they are to create their own presentation and be their own knowledge creator, their own creative constructor. Then you tell them to click on the plus sign and create. That student will have to click here and go to slides and create it. By telling the student to do this within classroom and not in their drive, this project will be named this child's name, just like this. You see how it named the assignment, this child's name, and then slides? So it will name the project for the student and name it appropriately by the title of your assignment, not whatever the child names it. So they will not name it whatever they want to name it, ABC project. It will name it whatever your classroom assignment is. Once they finish this assignment, Lucas is responsible for turning it in. He will click the turn in button. So he has two, only because I showed you what a template looked like and what a student created one. So if you submit a template to the student, because I submitted this, today's slideshow is the template, that's what it looks like. If the student creates it by clicking the plus and add or create, it names it the student's first and last name that's in classroom, which will be in the Encore system, the student's real name, not their nickname or anything like that. And then it will take and name it whatever your assignment is, not their project name. And then he gets, are you sure you're ready to turn it in? And it will turn it in. Now he could unsubmit it if he wanted to, and he can send the teacher a private comment. The whole class will not see it. So I'm going to switch accounts back to my classroom. So if I go to the assignment called slides, and I see that one student has turned it in, I'll move this up, and 3 people have not. So as the teacher, it's time for you to grade it. You automatically see 1 person has submitted, 3 have not. As you grade it, and you also have the option when you assign how many points you want to give. You can click on the assignments down here as they show to look at it. You never have to go to your drive. You always work in classroom. Never have to go to look for them in your drive. There is a folder in your drive with all these assignments. So as you're looking at this one, remember we had the template first, for example, and then Lucas had to create his own. So I can click between the two, and this is the one he created on his own. As the teacher, you can build a bank of comments for your students. So as you start a project, start saving your comments here. And you can use the same comments on the students' gradings for a project. So you can add to bank. And you can add your comments and oops. So now you can make comments and add them to your student's work. You can send a private comment to your student and never leave your computer. You can also grade your students' work right here. Now, You really don't want to return it to your student because then you're returning the work to your student. You only want to grade it. Lucas will be able to see the grade without you returning it. You really want to key the work. Also, you can go back and see who has not turned it in, who has not, the status of who's turned in and who hadn't. You can flip through your students here and never leave the classroom. Do not even try to go to Drive and find it because you will have so many classrooms, folders, because there's one for every classroom you've ever been a part of or every one you've ever created. The 3 dots right here, this is how you archive. The 3 dots and archive. It cleans your dashboard up. It also cleans the student dashboard up because for Lucas's classes, he should not have any of these up here except the one I created for this summer. If you take and go back to this, the boot camp, when you assign work, we're going back to slides, but if you give a quiz assignment, on Lucas's, if I would have said, hey, you really missed the concept here, I need you to redo the slides. If it's a quiz assignment, you cannot return it. If you give a quiz assignment, it's a one-time and done. So if you're giving a writing assignment and you think you want to give students comments for them to redo it, always give that as an assignment because you can return those. Questions look like this. Questions can be short answer or multiple choice. You can grade them or you cannot grade them. If you just need an exit ticket just to see how your lesson was. Also, if you notice on this one, these that I created here, they do not have, they're kind of just jumbled up here. Morning work, ELA, those are topics. If you want your student work to be organized, assign a topic to it. So if I would have put on the slides one, let's go back to edit. If I would have gone over here to topic and put ELA, it would not have left it up here in the feed. It would have put it down in the ELA and kept it organized for the students. In slides, slides are tricky. Slides are fun. Slides are easy for students because they're not afraid to try. On slides, they work just like docs, like I told you. If a student has a problem and says, I've done all this work and I can't find it, go to File and go down to Version History and go to See Version History. Now in Version History, you can see everything that's been changed. If there is an arrow button pointing to the right, change it to point down. Look, you can tell how many times I've changed it this morning or clicked on something. There's always another version. So don't look at just these thinking, well, I hadn't changed it since 9 o'clock. Surely I've done something before that or after that. Yes, you do. Help your students. Do know that you can get to it. And you can convert back to something if they really messed it up bad or they changed something and didn't mean to. You can also click right here where it says all changes saved or last edit was 20 minutes ago. So you can always do that. That's a quick way to get to it. It's the same thing. Just know that there's always more than one way to get to it. If you need images of each individual slide to save, go to download and go to JPEG or PNG. And if you select that, it will download that slide, the one that is selected, into an image. So now that slide is an image. Like when I post these on Twitter for y'all, that's how I have to do it on Twitter. I post one slide on Twitter when we do our chats. You go down File to Email if you want to email your whole presentation. And it's defaulted to PDF, which is fine for an email. You can add collaborators. Just know if you share this out with anybody, the one you have that you're looking at on your computer, that one's yours. It's in your drive. It's yours to keep. So I highly recommend you have a folder that says Google training or something for this summer and keep them all there. This right here, defaults, if you click share, the default, if you add anybody, who can I add? Sue-Ann. If I add Sue-Ann, it defaults every time, no matter who you add in Docs or anything, the default is editor. So if you don't want that person changing your file, your doc, your slide, anything, make sure you change it to viewer. They will change your stuff. Notify them you're sharing it. The other part of that is this gear shift up here. Your viewers and commenters can see the option to download, print, and copy. If you do not want people to do that, uncheck it. But I don't care, so I need to check that back. Hold up. Y'all can do that. So if I uncheck that, y'all won't be able to do that. All right. The other part of this is, see where it says get the link, and this is how I shared it with y'all. Anyone with this link on the internet can view this slide presentation the way I shared it out with y'all. But I went on Bitly. I have a Bitly account and got it smaller. I can change this. So anyone with the link on the internet, I can restrict it to Bossier schools, or I can restrict it to just the people that have access. However, today, the slideshow was shared with anybody that has the link. And anybody with the link can view it. However, for y'all today, I copied this link. And I'm going to show this right here. And if I copy that link, when you do that, see how long the link is? So for purposes of sharing only. So in order to force a copy, you see where it says /edit sharing right there? I changed that. Let's highlight it. Okay, I got the sharing link. And then I'm going to change this to copy. So what you do is this word right here. So to make you have a forced copy, does that make sense now? So instead of just sharing the slideshow with you today, I got it an editable, a sharing link for y'all. And from / on, I took out the sharing part of it and I changed that to the word copy. And when you do that, this is what I shared with y'all. So when you clicked on that bit.ly link, it forced you to make a copy. So now when someone enters that part, you see how it no longer has that edit sharing part? It'll tell, do you want to make a copy of this document? Now you don't risk that chance of somebody messing up your document or typing over your typed material. They're forced to make their own copy, and there's the slideshow. So now they have their own copy and they won't type on yours. Because you know how when you go to share something with somebody, they'll say, "Oh, I can't type on it." And you say, "No, I'm only shared it as view only. I don't want you typing on mine." That's why you do this. So I'm going to put how to force a copy right here, and y'all can keep that. Does that make sense now? How to force a copy. Okay. And y'all might, yeah. Okay. And I'll just keep sharing that with everybody for all of them. All right. This sample slide deck that you have right here is from Google itself. If you click on that, it's a scavenger hunt. You can assign this to your students. It came from a girl at Google EDU. It's 10 scavenger hunt items. And you might want to redo some of the wording. She's from Canada, like color has the U in it and stuff like that. It tells you how to insert word art on Google Slides. This one's a view only. So when you click on it, it says view only. So what you have to do is go to File and make a copy. So you want to make a copy. Let me start over. You go to File, make a copy of the entire presentation. And I'm going to put it where I want it. So put it in the folder that you're saving all this in. So I'm going to put it in the folder I want it in because I will never find it again. And then it's saved. And I'm changing that link to where it says forced copy. So now your students, and you can update it the way you want. You can put your picture here. You can put your school logo here. It's free rights on this. So it tells students how to use word art for Google Slides. So this is really teaching them how to use slides. Go to Insert, then go to Word Art. This is the box for word art. So students would have to use word art. Now, for fun, she tells them how to fill it with color and how to outline it. So tell your students to get creative and how to do word art. So you can tell them how to change the font and play with it. Stuff like this. So you can make this a fun activity for your students. But while they're doing this, they're learning all these tools at the top. It goes all the way down to how to format options on an image. So you would have to go to Format Options by right-clicking on an image. So they have to figure out how to use images. So you would right-click on the image, Adjustments, and then you would adjust the transparency. So Adjustments, and then adjust this to 40%. And then I would add to it and ask them to put words over it. This is how you adjust pictures on your slides to be able to put words over, writing over images. Now, to do that, you also have to adjust the font. And on this one, you'd probably have to go lighter on the transparent. Nope. You have to find that one spot where it's just right. Either that or change your ink. So let your students play with something like this to learn how to do slides. She has got them teaching them how to do borders on here, how to turn images. So this one was a fun way to teach people how to do slides, is what I kind of thought for this one. That's why I shared it with y'all. The other one, this one I found the other day, was how to insert images on Google Slides using this Explore button, like I showed you a while ago. Sometimes they'll make you put it in, that's how I got this one to this size, or you can make it do the background. You don't have to go through all the right click and adjust. This Explore button will sometimes do it for you. Okay. The one more thing is this free digital notebook tool that just came out. If you're a teacher that likes a planner, a paper planner, well, we probably will not be at our paper items very much longer. Teacher planning book. This is made out of Google Slides, and they are giving it to all teachers right now free. And I did use the Explore button to fix this one. So I found the image and it was just a square. No, it was this one. So I used the explore button, and this is how they did it. You can do it this way. And I landed on the circle one. If you click on the link, Teacher Notebook and Planner, there is a link to their website. It is a free digital notebook with sections for Google Slides. They have it in a portrait, and now this week they've come out in a landscape version. And it is a free to teachers. You can do it by subject. You can download the Google Slides version and do your classroom planning. Here's the landscape version, is what it looks like. So if you're one of those people that like to have a planner to plan out your lessons and write it, it looks like handwriting here. The text that they have, it's all laid out for you, and it's digital. So you can download this for free and put it in your drive and have it with you all the time. The link is on the slideshow, and it's yours to keep. I found it on Twitter. I highly recommend y'all get on Twitter. Join us. We chat once a month here in the department and in the district and share technology tools and things like that. So, and LaQ's even doing free technology. So, I mean, got busy and didn't change dates this morning. So this is the slideshow. Thanks for joining. If anybody has questions, I'll stay on for a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but I will answer these questions.